Dallas Races Net, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC. This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Okay, it's been very quiet out there, but I'll go ahead and ask. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin tonight? Skynet. This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. And our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic now? This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me this evening, and stations are reminded the ID at the end of your transmission. This weekly net frequency with appeal tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Eclink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Eclink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Just go to W5FC.org right now for a complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and structured in a number of parts. One is general announcements. 2, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope. National Space Society events. Discussion topic of the evening was up. Space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A in the 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. First thing we do is take short time check-in. So I'm going to do exactly that. If you'd like to join us, then you can only stay for a short time. Now is your opportunity to check in. Please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening. Short time only. Okay, well, I guess we've got everyone for the duration. I will take general check-ins now. If you'd like to join, please come into your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. This is
Speaking David and Triple Bolo Bruscato.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
This is Alpha Golf Niner, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas, AG9 SG.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Nut, Thomas in Liz, KI5, JCN.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, AG 5 p.m.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Dowell.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie, Delta, Cody in Dallas.
Yankee, Tango, Lynn, and Keller.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Okay, let's go ahead and hold up there. I had several doubles, so if you don't hear your call on this round, I'll get you on the next. You were probably covered over. But this is who I did get. I've got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, WB50ZL, Brenda, also in Dallas, BG9SG, Antonio, Dallas, KI5JCM, Thomas, Euless, AG5PM, Rich in Rockwall, NV5F, Virginia, and Fort Worth. By the way, Virginia, you've got some weird noise on your frequency. I've never heard that before on your transmission. I want to check your radio, but you're readable. It's just different from what I'm used to. KG5UFR, Jacob in Dallas, K5MCD, Cody in Dallas. Now, I did get part of a double here. I got Lynn over in Keller. Could I get your full call, please?
This is Kilo India 5, November Yankee Tango, KI5 NYT, Lynn and Keller.
Thank you. KI5NYT, Lynn in Keller. KG5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James over in Carrollton. Now, never fear. I know I missed at least a couple of people. We'll try again. If you're over on Echolink, I'm going to get to Echolink in just a second, so don't worry. You have to compete with the over-air people. It's really difficult, but I will get to Echolink check-ins here in just a moment. I'll take over-air check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Mesquite, Texas.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill, Irving. Okay, I got 3 check-ins, but only 2 I could read. I've got KF5JHA, Chaz. He's in Mesquite, not the Milky Way today. We've got N5BB, Bill over in Irving. There was another station. You were all noise. I couldn't pick out anything, and I heard nothing on reverse any better. So if you could increase power or improve position, we can try one more time. Try again.
We'll try one more time. Kilo Echo 5, Alpha Sierra November, Mike, and Dallas report.
Okay, Mike, KE5ASM, I got you over in Dallas, I think you said. I could pick you up this time, very good. The audio is a little low, but signal was much, much better, thank you. Anyone else, before I move to Echolink, please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, Mesquite, low power, portable.
Okay, we got W5QS Gus. He's in Mesquite tonight. He's made a move from his normal locations, and I got you portable. All right, I will now take check-ins from Echolink. Echolink, I'll give you extra time because you'll need it. to check in. Eclink only. Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Bravo 9, Sierra per kilo. Sean in Fort Worth. Bravo 9, Sierra Golf, Yankee David and Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo, Tango, X-Ray, Kelly, in point.
Golf 5, Bravo Zulu, Whiskey J, near Weatherford.
All right, I have to say that was perfect check-ins over on Echolink, and everybody did get in, yourself included, Kelly. So I've got KB9SOK, that's Sean in Fort Worth, KB9SGY, David in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. Welcome, David. We're glad you're here. K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Point, KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. Okay, I'll open it up to anyone, anywhere, any mode who'd like to check in. Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Number 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay, Orbit Peak.
Okay, I picked up Clay, N5OF in Mesquite. Clay, I didn't see you on the link. I must have missed you. I'm sorry, but I do have you checked in now. All right, let's see here. The next thing we want to do is see about any general announcements. Do we have any general announcements in this evening's net? Is the ham astronomical space or of general interest to licensed hams? Please come with your call now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM, Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. I know you'll cover this, but the Afterglow movie tonight is The Mandela Effect from 2019. This is not a black and white movie from the 50s. It actually has quite a reputation as an interesting movie, so please do look at the Afterglow movie discussion group on Facebook and give the film a try if you can find a moment, because Skynet is actually pretty interesting. Texas State Parks on the Air is happening soon. In fact, this coming weekend, the White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club will be active at Lake Tawakoni. Make plans to participate at a park or to try to work POTA stations. Get your NVIS antenna up. It's hard because Texas State Parks are normally in our skip zone, so we've got to hope for a low-band NVIS operation. There will also be, this has never happened before that I know of, a fox hunt set up at Lake Tawakoni next weekend. Check at wa5wrl.org for more details. And finally, I can't believe how fast time goes whoosh. The eclipse was just this morning, right? Apparently not. This Monday is already time for the second helping of ham fixins. I don't understand how that happened. Try a new recipe tomorrow and share it this Monday on the 146.88 repeater at 7 p.m. local time. We even have a surprise net coming up this month. I don't know what's going to happen. I just hope it's surprising. NT5TM, back to net.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, I'll be talking about the Afterglow movie net in just a bit. If anybody need any fills or have any questions, please come in your call. I'm going to make just one announcement. This is kind of off kilter, but it happens to be sitting on my desk here in the shack, and it came in so late. I do just generally talk about this sometime after the event because it's not really ham radio, but it's something you might find interesting. The Airline Collectible Show and Sale is next Saturday, April 20th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's only $5. I think it's $4 if you're in the biz. This is at the, what is this, Doubletree by Hilton at DFW Airport North. So if you're into old broken down models and dishware and uniforms and airplanes and schedules and stuff like that, this is the place to be. It's pretty cool. I've been going to them for the last, 30 years, I guess. This is the latest they've ever sent me a collectible one, and it's a cheap entertainment. Plus, there's a lot of people there that are always entertaining in and of themselves. All right, as you can tell, I'm a little under the weather, so I'm not sure what I got, but it won't go away. I've had it since Wednesday. So I have an alternate net control. That would be Brenda, WB50ZL. I may call upon her to help me out if I lose my voice in the process. Let's see. Other announcements. Don't forget the AMSAT net. AMSAT Satellite Group has actually 3 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. If you need Echolink installed, you can go to AMSAT, which is one of the group headings, and there's a live audio link also at amsatnet.com. This will give you the first information on any amateur satellite information from the headquarters down in Houston. But we are very fortunate in that we have 2 interactive groups right here, 2 interactive nets, I should say, on Tuesday evening, one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday evening. Tuesday evening one begins at 8 o'clock. That's with Tom and by the HFLI team. You can ask all any questions you may have about amateur satellites. They'll also give you any updates on anything going on. We also host another net, AMSAT Net West, Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. That's 147.140 megahertz. The field on the 110.9 with a positive offset. There are on DARC repeater here that you're listening on is on Monday evening we have in the first week Ham Fixins Net at 7 o'clock, which is our cooking net that's coming up. For the second week we have MCOM 101 emergency communications. Third week is the second helping of Ham Fixins Net. Fourth week is GeekNet. And we talk about everything speaking even beyond ham radio. And this week is a surprise net. We told you what it was. It was a surprise. Fridays is Surf City Simulation. Learn about emergency communications with Surf and trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday, Surf City. Saturdays, of course, is our Night of Net. Check that from 7 to 8 o'clock, which you may have missed, or maybe you were a part of. Skynet from 9 until 10:30, and then the Afterglow Movie Net from 10:30 until midnight. Daily, we have the National Traffic System Training Net every night at 6:30 p.m. All are welcome to check into any or all of these nets. Now, as Tony mentioned and promised, is tonight's Afterglow Movie Info. So here we go. Brandon was a computer game designer, so his breakthrough creations were anything but exciting to the average kid. One was Dead Ant Farm, a game where a child cares for a dead colony of ants. Another, Spell Check Fun, where a child's computer no longer autocorrects words and instead reminds the child with each misspelling they'll have to repeat second grade. None of these were a hit, so one day, Brandon wakes up and finds one of his games, Paint Everyone Bored, became a huge success with the kiddies. A quick search of Amazon showed all his other flops that made it into the top 10 video games this week. There was no doubt something with changing time and history. Join us for the Mandela Effect tonight at 10:30 p.m. When you think of it, does the rich man of Monopoly have eyewear? Think about that. You can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. All right, that's enough time to see if there's anyone else that may have wandered through the door. Anyone else want to join us this evening? Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, well, next up on the list is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope. That would be Chaz, KF5JHA. Chaz, what do you have for us this evening?
Well, thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone. Just to let you know, Tom, W1ZRN Parker is over on Echolink, and so is Billy, one of our net controls, KF5PDS. They're over there, so maybe you want to check those in. I check everyone in, even if they don't check in. Okay, so the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, April the 26th, and the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is actually going to be the task members talking about their total solar eclipse experience and results. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. On the second Saturday of the month, the stargazing is held at Frisco. Is there any radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report? Come now with your call sign if you'd like to do so. Well, it's mostly clear out there, and I see a thin crescent moon. We'll talk about the phase of the moon that happened on Monday a little bit later on. You can check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control, KE5ICX. Tom, I'm sorry you're under the weather. But, you know, all of us are under the weather because we're on the surface of the Earth.
Oh, so true. Thank you, Chaz. Well, I want to give a heads up to everybody tonight. Here's your opportunity. We're going to have truly an interactive evening in that we're going to discuss our experiences with the eclipse. That's going to be our topics. And in fact, we were right underneath it, as you mentioned. So hopefully folks will have a few stories to tell about where they were at, what they did, what their first impressions were. Maybe this is your first eclipse. Maybe it was your 100th eclipse. We want to know. So keep that in mind. That discussion topic will be coming up here in about 5 minutes or so. So think about what happened, and we'll call on you to talk about what it was like. Next up is National Space Society events and activities. Let me look. I think Bill is, yes, he's checked in. So Bill, N5BB. What do you have for us for the National Space Society of North Texas?
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director and member at large for the National Space Society North Texas chapter. We meet on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. So our April meeting is tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Our presenter will be virtual. Her name is Anango Fail. She is the aerospace lead for the National Society of Black Engineers. And she will talk about defining the future of aerospace. She is familiar with the White House Space Council. So insight into what's going on with long-term planning by the White House Space Council. You can attend the meeting in person. If you want to be a visitor, just come on over. Or we also simulcast it. We have a hybrid meeting on WebEx. And as long as you send me the request tonight or tomorrow, well before noon, I can respond to you and send you the registration link. But don't wait until the last minute because I'll be too busy to see your email. So if you want to listen to this meeting on WebEx, you send me a message tonight, preferably, at space@byrom.net, SPACE@BYROM.net, or N5BB@ARRL.net, November 5 Bravo Bravo @ARRL.net. Other events coming up. Well, yesterday we had an event. It was April the 12th. What is April the 12th? A very famous day in space. This is N5BB. It was the anniversary of the first human in space, Yuri Gagarin, who was originally from Romania, but went on a Soviet Union mission on a capsule, very short ride into space, on April the 12th, 1961. Unfortunately, he died in a fighter airplane crash about, I think it was 7 years later, unfortunately. But, so every April the 12th, internationally, there's a remembrance that's called Yuri's Night. We remember the first human in space. So the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society had a magazines and everything, and we were there with the things people could see at NASA prints, at Good Union Urban Barbecue in Richardson at the Cityscape area. This is near Highway 75 and Bush Turnpike on the southeast corner. Not too very far from Ham Radio Outlet. So that's what went on Friday. Then, later in the month, on Friday, April the 26th, that's the last Friday of the month, we always have an event called Space Rendezvous. This is a social event in Irving. We're currently doing this at Cheddar's Restaurant. This is on Highway 635 in North Irving, on the eastbound service road. This is on the south side of Highway 635, east of MacArthur, a short distance, just like a block distance. Cheddar's Restaurant. And we meet from 6 o'clock till about 8 o'clock on Friday evenings, the last Friday of the month. So this month it will be on April the 26th. Again, if you have any questions, just send me an email. I'll be glad to give you more information. Anybody can attend. You do not have to be a member of anything to attend. And we usually have maybe 7 or 8 people there, something like that, talking about space stuff and other things, nerdy things. That's it for now, Tom. And, man, I had a great view of the eclipse on Monday. N5BB, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for that information. If anybody need any bills on what Bill provided. All right, thanks to a couple of relays here. I'd like to Acknowledge W1ZRN. That's Parker somewhere. He is checked in over on Eclipse. KF5PDS, Miss Dilly over in Sherman. K5KOB Philip in Rose Point. He's over on the screen. He's here every single week, so you better recognize him as long-time net control this evening. So tonight we'll talk about the Eclipse and how it went for you. I'll start with a brief discussion. In 2017, I went with Bill, N5BB, and Gus, N5GUS, W5GUS, Gus, over in Mesquite. Both were checked in this evening. We went up to Kansas City. We saw the eclipse there. That was the first one I'd seen, the first total eclipse. It was quite the thing to me, watching it get so dark and then having the what looked like sunset or sunrise, maybe would be a better term, all the way around 360 degrees. I got that same effect, and I hope you did too. If you were in the area and you were in totality, if you live in the area and you're at your radio now, you were probably in totality. So it's quite an amazing thing. It got very dark. Temperatures dropped. It dropped probably about 5 to 10 degrees, I think. I've got two doggies. One was totally unaffected. The other one was affected. She laid down and thought, oh, maybe it's time to eat. She's looking at me for din-din. So there was that going on. Aircraft were coming in. The lights came on, all the landing lights on the aircraft as they were coming in. I was underneath 18 left, so there was that. But I was fortunate, maybe more so than anyone else in the area, unless you're up in the Louisville area. It was clear the entire time. I understand that as it went into totality, that some people would have some clouds, I think, down in downtown Dallas. Just briefly, it cleared. This was completely clear for me. I thought it was great the entire time. It looked a little questionable this morning, the morning of, but it cleared up quite well and was perfect for the entire time. Partly cloudy through the day, but nothing that obscured the entire total part of the total eclipse. So it was great. I guess now I'm going to have to go someplace else to see the next one. Europe, I guess, is the next one in 4 years, I think it is. I'm sure Chaz will correct me on that, and who knows. So with that, if you've got a story to tell, if this was your first eclipse and your first feelings and impressions of it, or just something you want to mention that was pretty cool about your experience, now's your opportunity. This doesn't happen but once every 300 years, so you might want to do it now because you may be out of town the next time this happens. So please come with your call if you got a story.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
Well, Bill, they're awful bashful out there, but I think they'll come about here in a bit. N5BB, Bill, go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. As Tom said, this area in 2017, and there's a fourth person in the car, which was Rick Herndon, K5FNI, from Austin, a friend of mine from Austin. So we had 4 hams in a car. What could possibly go wrong? The clown car. Anyway, so we survived and didn't tear each other apart and survived a very heavy rainfall, which got things wet a little bit. Anyway, so that was in 2017. This last Monday, I had visitors in town from Tennessee. So a good friend of mine, K5GM, who's about 15 years older than me, I've known since about 1970. He and I both live in Austin, and his daughter ended up moving up and marrying a guy in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and there was a house next door to theirs that was available, so she moved her parents up there. So they sold their house in Austin, and my friend moved up to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. This story is going somewhere, and so they decided to come down and see the eclipse, because my friend has a PhD in astronomy, and he's never seen a total eclipse. So he worked as a computer programmer for his work career. So they all drove down in the minivan and stayed in a hotel, and my friend had polio years ago, so he's in an electric wheelchair. And we all got out on my driveway and saw the eclipse, and it was amazing. So we had 4 people from Tennessee, my friend, his wife, their daughter, and a caregiver that helps my friend. So it was amazing. We were very, very happy. I've got a solar system on my house, and I've got full recordings of the solar production all the time. And so I've got a really neat graph that shows the clouds in the morning, very low production, then mixed clouds coming in right at the start of the partial eclipse, and then once it was a little bit into the partial eclipse, clouds went away, nice smooth curve going down to the total, and then after the partial eclipse finished, clouds came back in. You can see this extremely well on my solar power graph. So we were just lucky that this hole in the clouds happened to appear in this area. My friends in Austin and my relatives in San Antonio, nothing usable. It was very thick clouds there, just like it was here in the morning. So it was a great experience, and unless you travel somewhere, you're not going to be able to see another one in your lifetime. Thank you, N5BB.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Bill. And it's always fun to share with somebody else or other people something like this, particularly when it's your first one. You know, now that I've got 2 on my belt, it's like you're an expert at it, right? But there are people that do this. This is what they do. This is what they travel for. They go to eclipses around the world to see, and they are quite interesting. There's no 2 ways about it. Hey, anyone else have a story they like to bring this evening about their eclipse experience? Or maybe somebody had an experience that you want to relay that was quite interesting. Please come with your call.
AG 5 p.m.
Hello, Tango X-ray.
Now we're getting some takers. All right, I've got AG5 PM and K5TTX. We'll start with Rich. AG5 PM, go ahead.
So I was playing this really cool video game, and my wife texted me, "You got to come out and see this." So I went out, and it was the full eclipse. So I looked up at it without glasses, and I go, okay, that's nice. I went back in and played my video game. I was kind of annoyed she bothered me for that. All right. I know that's contrarian, and I said that to just be a little, of an instigator, but it's not too far from the truth. I was going to watch it on the news, AG 5 p.m.
Rich, I can't believe you said that. I'm going to come over and take your telescope away from you. I know you got one. You probably haven't had it out in a while, but bad, Rich. Bad, Rich. All right, well, let me go to a true amateur astronomer. Solar system ambassador, in fact, and that would be K5KTX. Miss Kelly, how was your experience with the total solar eclipse from KE5ICX?
Hey, Tom, this is K5KTX. So this was my fifth solar eclipse, my second total eclipse. I've seen two annulars and a partial. And this time, originally I had decided I was going to have a plan A, plan B, plan C, just depending on the weather. And at the same time, my new house is less than a mile. It's very close to the center line of this eclipse. And my parents are here, my sister and brother-in-law are here, and they have never seen an eclipse, any kind of solar eclipse. So I just decided kind of at the last minute that I wasn't going to try to chase this thing. I was just going to stay home no matter what happened with the weather. It was not looking good, and then it was starting to look better, and so I wasn't quite sure what to do. But my dad's brother passed away on Sunday, and so I really was determined that I wanted it to be a family event. I didn't even get my telescope. I have a dedicated solar telescope. I didn't even set that thing up. I just wanted us to see it with our eyes. We had plenty of solar eclipse classes, and so we had just kind of a picnic, I guess you could say, here at the house. My dad's best friend came over. My dad's sister came over, and I had some cousins, and the whole family was here. So we did have some clouds, intermittent clouds, mostly clouds, but we did get enough that we could see the first part of it, the first partial phase of it, and we got some really good looks at that. And then right about 5 minutes or so before totality, it just completely cleared off. We had blue skies. It was beautiful. And, they do say that sometimes they'll drop in temperature. I don't think it dropped in temperature that much. I haven't looked at my data yet to see what it did, but it did drop a little bit, and they do say that sometimes the drop in temperature can cause the clouds to disappear. And they did. They went away. We had a clear skies for the rest of the entire eclipse. And when I to see this incredible, awesome sight, I'm pretty sure I had some things dropping out of my eyes at that point. And when we got to totality, it was just, again, this is my second total eclipse. This one was so beautiful, and it was much longer than the one in 2017. I was in Wyoming for that one, where we just had a little over 2 minutes. But this time we had 4 minutes, 21 seconds of totality at my house, and it was so beautiful. There was a prominence that was down at the bottom of the sun that was, it was naked eye. You did not even need a telescope to see it. It was gorgeous. It was pink and orange, and everybody got to see it. And then we had a diamond ring at C3, which is where totality ends, which was also beautiful. And after it was over, my family just thanked me profusely for making them come outside and watch this thing. It was just absolutely gorgeous. It was wonderful to see it get dark like that and all the lights come on. And I did take a time-lapse video for the entire eclipse, and then I also took my drone up and was hoping to get some pictures of the shadow coming in. It didn't really turn out the way I wanted it, but I'm going to try to speed it up and see how that turns out. But anyway, it was an amazing experience, and I just can't stress enough, if you've never seen one of these, don't write it off. Don't go to where it's 99%. Get 100% in totality. I know we don't have another one in the U.S. until 2044. I'm thinking about Australia in 2028. We'll see. But anyway, it was just absolutely amazing, and I loved every minute of it. So back to you, Tom. This is K5KTX.
Well, thanks, Ms. Kelly, and thank you for those comments. I agree with her. It has to be a total eclipse. A partial eclipse, or even that 99%, as she says, is not 100%. It is a big difference between the two. So that's kind of an important thing to know. 99% will not get you there. Close will not get you there. Anyone else have any stories they want to bring? Please come on your call.
NV5S. CBS.
we picked up two more. I've got the NV5F and KF5PDS. So we will start with Virginia, NV5F. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Before I continue, can you tell me if I sound any better?
Yes. Whatever that weird interference was is gone now. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was background noise or something. You've always had something going on out there. But no, you sound fine now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I have an outboard speaker system that is designed for ham radio, but when I put power on this radio, it feeds back through that speaker, makes a lot of noise. I can get it to work sometimes, and it was working earlier today, and now it suddenly decided to do that weird thing again, so I just unhooked it. Okay, well, I had seen the eclipse in 2017 and got pretty enthralled by it. When we did that, I went to my aunt's house, and we had a couple friends at her place. My mom was there. My cousin was there. He had built a projector out of a monocular and a cardboard box that was pretty neat, and we were all pretty happy with that. And then he decided that by this year he was going to have something much cooler. So he got hold of a telescopic lens and some camera equipment. So while the live viewing of the eclipse wasn't as big or easy to see, we did have some glasses and all that. But the point is that what others have said, I agree with. It's just you can't explain the difference, as cool as a partial eclipse is. And I do have to note that I guess this is the fourth any kind of solar eclipse I've ever experienced. We had one in Mississippi when I was a kid that was a partial eclipse. And then we had the partial one in 2017, and then the annular eclipse last fall, and then this one. So this is my first experience with a total eclipse, and as cool as partial eclipses are, and you can see the little eclipses in the shadows from the trees and colanders. I love Tom's colander picture that he posted on Facebook. It's just as soon as it goes into totality, it's so clear that if you can get there, because I know a couple of people who live out in Weatherford, and they didn't bother to come. They didn't bother to just drive 45 minutes over this way to see it, and I wish they had, because there's just nothing like it. We had all of my cousin's equipment out in the front yard, and he was getting mad because the yard guys, they're in a neighborhood where the yard guys do all the little yards around the houses, and the guys had decided to be out blowing leaves. We were having a few clouds. It wasn't too bad. That it had cleared off after the morning, and we had planned to get together and enjoy the eclipse with or without clouds or rain or whatever. We figured it would at least get dark, and that would be kind of cool. But we had a little lunch, and anyway, the guys were out there with their leaf blowers, and it was making my cousin pretty upset that they got by us before the totality. And we had a pretty clear sky. There were a few real thin clouds that you really couldn't see that well until it changed, and then the corona of the sun was so bright that it was actually looked like the clouds on a full moon. It was kind of pretty, but we had a very nice totality, and like Tom described, it was like a ring of twilight all the way around the bottom of the sky. All the street lights came on. I noticed a very a very noticeable change in temperature, even between full sunlight and the partial eclipse. And then when it went into totality, it was definitely cooler. It was amazing how dark it got. It's just, you can't describe it to anybody. You can show them videos and pictures and try to explain it, but man, it's really something. And but as soon as it goes over, that corona is just the sun's atmosphere shining, and there's no real sunlight, direct sunlight shining, and it's like the light of a full moon, and you can look right at it. And my aunt was worried. My cousin and I were just looking up at it, and she thought we were going to hurt our eyes, and I was like, no, it's okay, you can look at it. But I was just floored. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop with the exclamations of how amazing it was. In B5F. My cousin got some great pictures. He's going to process them and do some kind of a time-lapse thing, and it was one of his first forays into astronomical photography, and I think, I don't know, we might have to go somewhere to see another one of these, because it was pretty amazing. I can see how people get hooked on it and want to travel just to see them. So, amazing experience. Really glad we had it here. I didn't sweat about the weather, and I'm glad the weather did turn out for us. And hope everybody else had as good of a time as I did. Back to net in V5F.
Well, thank you, Virginia. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of got that same feeling. You know, you spend your whole life, your parents tell you, don't look at the sun, don't do this, don't do that. You'll blind your eyes, and then you get a totally eclipse like this, and you're right, it's perfectly okay in a total eclipse to look at the sun. It looks like a bright moon, but it will not hurt your eyes. And so it's kind of hard to imagine that. The first time that happened, was 2017, when I went to look up, it's like, wow, I was expecting it to be brighter than this as far as, but it's not. All right, next is Miss Billy, Camp5 PDS. Billy, your story, please, from KE5ICF.
Thank you very much. Sorry, it took me a little bit. The carrier wasn't quite dropping. Yeah, this was a just totally amazing, mesmerizing, life-changing experience for me. I feel like a different person. It's like you feel changed after you see totality. As they all have agreed, it is a quite different experience from partial. 2017, I did not get to travel because it was the first day of school. And so I took all my equipment to school and have a 6-inch Dobsonian telescope with a full aperture white light solar filter, and I had a couple pair of eclipse glasses thanks to Kelly and Chaz, and I still have those. And I made the little shoebox, as Virginia mentioned, putting foil in a pinhole at one end, and then a little piece of paper inside the shoebox, and it's great to look at to see the shadow. We looked at that for a little bit. They thought it was fun, but everybody was happy with their glasses and the telescope. So I got to go to Sulphur Springs, which was about an hour and a half drive for me, to a friend of mine's house, and she and I have known each other since 4th grade, and they have a 100-acre spread out in Sulphur Springs, and they have lots of cattle, birds, animals on the property. During totality, it was completely silent. No animals or anything were making any noise, and there's a lot of blackbirds in the area, and they all alighted on this power tower, and my friend said they only go there at night, and so they were fooled into perching thinking it was nighttime. But the morning we were worried because it was completely socked in with clouds and even foggy, but by lunchtime, right about when the eclipse started, the clouds started burning off, and we were dodging clouds for the first part of it. I got my telescope out, and set it up. We had lunch, and we were taking looks periodically with glasses and with the telescope. I showed them my shoebox. They thought that was fun. But we were happy just sitting in chairs watching the eclipse with our glasses and taking periodic looks through the telescope. I did get some pictures before and after, but not during. I got one during on my phone. I think the next time I experience it, I want to do more photographically, but this time, being that it was my first, I had read articles that said, don't mess around with the equipment for your first one. Just enjoy it. Just, take in, the awesomeness that you're seeing without fiddling with equipment and everything. So I watched it go in the telescope. I was cheering. I was like, oh, there it goes. And it was like, then you could see the beads, because it was broken up, Bailey's beads, because it was broken up by the terrain of the moon. I'm like, there are the beads, and then it was black. And as soon as it turned black in the scope, I looked up, and we were all just dumbstruck. We couldn't believe it. It was amazing. We took our glasses off, and as Virginia said, we're looking at the sun without any protection, and it was fine, and it was just surreal and beautiful and awesome, and there's just no other words to describe it. And we got over 4 minutes of totality, and then we got the diamond ring, which was gorgeous, and we saw that prominence too. All my friends were asking, they're like, what is that red spot? And I said, that's got to be a prominence. And when we saw later footage on TV of different places experiencing totality, you could really tell they were prominences. And I said, yep, that was what we saw. We even saw a planet. It was either Venus or Saturn, because the sky was dark enough that planets were in view. And it was just totally silent, no animal noises whatsoever. And then as we came out of totality, things just, still weren't quite back to normal, because the light is always just so eerie. Even during a partial, the light becomes otherworldly. And the one last October, it got noticeably colder. I had come in to get a long sleeve shirt. This one wasn't quite as cold, for that annular, and I didn't get to see the annular. I was in a partial. I had to stay home with my mom. But still, that temperature change was a lot more noticeable than this one was. Probably because it was a cooler time of year. It was in October instead of, April. But it did get noticeably cooler. And, as Virginia said, from full sun to partial, as the eclipse moved in, it got noticeably cooler. And then, of course, during totality, it was coolest. And then it warmed right back up, and it got noticeably hotter. When it was over, we were all like, man, it's hot out here. But we had such a great time. I was with my best friend and her husband, her daughter and her husband, and a couple of neighbors. So just a small group of family and friends, just enjoying this awesome event. So I highly recommend it to anyone who's not seen totality. And as Virginia said, I can totally understand how people would want to chase this, because there is no other experience like it. And even a friend of mine said this one was darker and totality was longer. He went to Indiana and experienced it there. And the twilight during the day, I took a picture just of the surrounding landscape, and it was just like twilight, and it was just so quiet and beautiful, and I feel like a different person. It really does experiences. It really is something. All right, I'll return it to you. This is KF5 PDS, back to net.
And this is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight's Skynet. I want to thank everybody for their comments this evening. We do have one more story. That's part of Chaz's presentation. He's going to bring that up here in just a second. But I'm glad many people had an opportunity to see it, and it did impress most. Doesn't necessarily mean all, but certainly impressed me. Even the second time around, I thought it was amazing. And I did get to see the annular eclipse in October down in Corpus Christi, because I was down there visiting family. So that was kind of cool. But I'll tell that for another day. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next section, which is Was Up. That's Chad, F5JHA. Chad, tell us what's up from KE5IC.
Thank you, Tom. This is Jazz, KF5JHA, and we call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Actually, we'll talk about something that did happen on Monday in a little bit. That was slide number 1, Slide Master. If you didn't know, we have a video version, yes, a video version of Skynet, and that's on, well, I watch it on YouTube. But you can get that by going to w5fc.org, and you can look at the link and get to that. So it's a lot of fun. Let's see now. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. On April the 8th was new moon and the total solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. More on that in just a few moments. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing crescent. I saw it on the evening sky this evening. On April the 15th is the first quarter phase of the moon. On April the 19th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,623 kilometers. On April the 23rd, the moon will be full. On May the 1st, the moon will be at its third quarter phase. On May the 5th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 363,163 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 4, the beginning of my experience with the total solar eclipse. I've seen several eclipses in my life, starting with 1970. That was March 7th. That was a partial eclipse, but I've seen several of them. And yes, I did see the annular solar eclipse back in October. That was October the 14th. But my first total solar eclipse was in 2017. That was at Roberts, Idaho. Anyway, the prediction of clouds in North Texas for the April 8th total solar eclipse drove me to the north, to Donovan, Missouri. Around 8:30 a.m., the city park in Donovan, there were some high, thin cirrus clouds that remained through the eclipse, but it didn't really hamper our viewing of it. And if you're looking at the video version, I've got a picture of the high, thin clouds over Donovan, Missouri. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. Now, there are eclipse glasses and eclipse viewers that can provide views of the eclipse, but I took some simple viewing devices. A $1.25 strainer colander from Dollar Tree and a box of Cheez-Its produced wonderful views of the partial phase of the eclipse. Now wait, a colander has lots of holes, and you can see lots of different, well, eclipses of the sun. And a Cheez-It has a hole in the center, as long as you get one that doesn't have a salt crystal in the center. It works really well as well. Now, I saw some Cheez-It, not just Cheez-It crackers, but Ritz crackers that have 5 holes in it. You can get 5 eclipses. That's kind of fun. So if you've not done that with an eclipse of the sun, try simple things like that. I heard salt shaker lids work, and many other things could work as projection of pinhole projectors almost. Slide Master, slide number 6. Of course, I took a pair of Celestron Eclipse Smart binoculars to view the partial phases, but I used a 900 millimeter telephoto lens attached to my Canon Rebel EOS T6 camera to take over 100 pictures of the eclipse. I snapped a picture about every 5 minutes during the partial phases. Slide Master, slide number 7. During totality, I took off the protective filter from in front of the telephoto lens and took a series of several pics about every few seconds with varying exposure levels to reveal the sun's corona and the solar prominences. And yes, the one at about the 5 o'clock position was beautiful. It appeared much more visible toward the end of totality than it did at the beginning. Since the sun is currently active, there are lots of things to see in the corona as well as the solar prominences. Beautiful. Slide Master, slide number 8, please. Now, once totality was over again, I placed the protective filter back on the telephoto lens and proceeded to take a picture about every 5 minutes of the partial phase again. This is only my second total solar eclipse I've ever seen. The first one, again, was in 2017 at Roberts, Idaho. And I am hooked I want more. Unfortunately, the next total solar eclipse visible in the lower 48 states is 2044 in the Pacific Northwest. We won't even see a partial phase here. But there is a total solar eclipse in 2045 that runs right through central Oklahoma. So if you want to wait till the next total eclipse here in North Texas, though, that's going to be on July the 9th, the year 2317. But wait, there's 7 partial solar eclipses that can be seen in North Texas between the years of 2028 through the year 2045. We'll talk more about those solar eclipses, much later edition of Skynet. Yeah, okay. Well, that's my experience. Slide Master, slide number 9. Let's get back on to what's up. On April the 13th, a conjunction of the Moon and Vesta in the western evening sky is something you'll be able to see. You'll need to have at least a pair of binoculars to see Vesta. Slide Master, slide number 10. On April the 14th, try to look for the conjunction of the Moon and Castor and Pollux in the western evening sky. You'll make a nice little triangle. Wait, that is tomorrow night, isn't it? And the Vesta was tonight, yeah. Slide Master, slide number 11. On April the 18th, the Moon and the minor planet Juno will be in conjunction in the evening sky. You'll need at least a pair of binoculars to see Juno. Slide Master, slide number 12. On April the 19th, Mercury and Venus will be in conjunction in the early morning sky with strong twilight. Slide Master, slide number 13. On April the 20th, Jupiter and Uranus will be in conjunction in the evening sky. A pair of binoculars will be needed to see Uranus. I recommend a telescope, though. It's really nice to see them. I saw Jupiter and Uranus together several years ago, and they were in the same field of view, and it was great to see them. Slide Master, slide number 14. On April the 22nd, the Moon and the star Spica will be in junction in the evening sky. We'll use Spica to find our constellation of the week, but that might not be till next week. Slide Master, slide number 15. On April the 29th, Mars and Neptune will be in conjunction in the early morning sky. You'll need to use a telescope to see the planet Neptune. And Slide Master, slide number 16, please. On April the 30th, the Moon and Ceres will be in conjunction in the morning sky. Binoculars will be at least required to see the minor planet Ceres. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information I've talked about? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
NV5F.
Virginia, come now. What's your question?
Okay, thank you, Chaz. Well, I asked a similar question a while back, but I was thinking about getting a telescope. I wanted a nice telescope all my life, and I was considering just buying one before the eclipse because I knew that my cousin's photography equipment wouldn't allow real-time viewing necessarily, but I decided to take my time and do some homework, and I was wondering if you had a specific recommendation for a brand or a model of telescope that would be something kind of all-purpose where I could look at the sun, maybe get some decent views of planets, some deep sky objects. I realize you need to have a really good long focal length to get really good views of planets. But I just wanted to see if there was some kind of a good starter one that wasn't too small, but also wasn't too heavy for me to move around. Just wondered what you thought and what some leads might be for looking into something like that in V5F.
It's a great question. Unfortunately, the answer is a really long answer, so I don't know if I can do that properly here and now, but let me go ahead and give you some suggestions. The Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, texasastro.org, has on their page, their web pages, information about how to choose telescopes and also binoculars. Here's what I would recommend. If you're buying a car, or I should say if you're buying a vehicle, if you want to haul rocks, you'd get maybe a dump truck. If you wanted to have a sports car, well, you might get a Lamborghini or something like that. So depending on the type of vehicle, depends on what you want to do. Same thing with a telescope. Depends on what you do. You're looking for an all-purpose one, it sounds like. Deep sky objects and planets usually don't mix together because you need a large telescope with a large aperture to see deep sky objects, and with a telescope that looks at the planets or the sun or the moon, as you said, you need a long focal length. So those two are usually not compatible in the same telescope, but a Cassegrain telescope might fit the bill for you. We purchased some Cassegrain telescopes, the X-Star Evolution telescopes that are computer controlled for the Eclipse for each one of our campuses. So at Dallas College, each one of them had an 8-inch telescope, Cassegrain telescope, and it worked pretty well. Unfortunately, those telescopes are about $3,000. But the nice thing is, if they work properly, they have a GPS unit. You turn them on, they know exactly where they're already at on the surface of the Earth. They know what the exact time is, and all you have to do is do a little bit of an alignment, and then they're ready to go. You punch in a button that says, find the moon. It'll go right to the moon. It'll say, okay, do you want to find a deep sky object? It'll go right to it. We've used it on campus several times since we've got them back in September, and they work beautifully. I appreciate them for the sun views, because you have to use a special solar filter to use them on that, but the nighttime views are as well very nice. So I hope that's at least a beginning answer to it, but there's a lot of details. I would suggest anybody wanting to purchase a telescope to go to, the Texas Astronomical Society has observing stations throughout the Metroplex on every Saturday night. Up at Fort Worth has the same similar kind of situation. Go there, find out what works for them, ask them lots of questions, see if they might let you operate their telescope, and then you might have an idea of what you want to get. Virginia, did that help answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much. I had a feeling that a really good all-purpose telescope would probably run me a little bit, but it gives me a start of kind of just what to be looking for, and I like your idea of just getting together with people who have equipment, and kind of like with ham radio, go try somebody's equipment and see what you like, and then you'll know what to look for. So I appreciate it very much, and I'll be doing some more homework. Thanks a lot. Back to NV5F.
Thank you, Virginia. Well, the Cassegrains are easily transportable, but so are Dobsonians. Dobsonians, I have both. Dobsonian, I have a large 16-inch Dobsonian, and that works great on deep sky objects in the sky because it sucks up the light, and you can see some fainter things in the sky that you can't normally see. Okay, that's wonderful. Tom, this is KF5JHA. We're going to skip the constellation of the week this week, so slide number 8. So as the moon waned last week, so do these words of this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for a world that's the only one where humans live, and until next time, keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Tom, it's all back to you. 73, everyone.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Virginia, both. Well, we were planning things in the background for how to finish off tonight, but you've already done that for us. So we will just hold off on Centaurus. For Centaurus for next week. So we'll go to Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, what do you have for us for space exploration and space history?
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. First item is about Titan. Saturn's largest moon, Titan, has an enigmatic air fit for a doomed script. Covered in dark, ridged dunes and craters, the world is wrapped in a golden atmosphere and thought to contain a liquid ocean beneath its icy surface. Its distinct polar and desert regions have intrigued and mystified astronomers for years. Indeed, Titan's massive dunes may be a comet and moon graveyard from the early solar system. A planetary scientist from the Southwest Research Institute and his team have proposed an alternative story that taps into various popular theories for how our solar system formed. Some 4 billion years ago, movements of the giant planets may have destabilized the Kuiper Belt. And these planets I'm trying to shorten this a little bit since we're short on time. These planets are surrounded by moons, and this chaotic reshuffling would have caused countless comets and regular moonlets to smash into Titan and other planetary bodies. Space rocks would also have crashed together, breaking down into tiny particles. Bucky and his team ran simulations of this era and found that more than enough dust and particles were, dust and particulates would have been released and scattered to form Titan's dunes. Also, on Tuesday, we had the United Launch Alliance's Delta IV heavy rocket launched for the final time, bringing an end to 6 decades of service by the Delta family of rockets. The Delta IV Heavy, which first flew in 2004, launched early afternoon from Space Launch Complex 37 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Florida, carrying an intelligence satellite to a geostationary orbit for the National Reconnaissance Office. Did you know that over 36,000 people helped NASA do NASA science during Monday's total solar eclipse? Together, these volunteers submitted more than 60,000 vital pieces of eclipse data to NASA science projects. More than 30,000 volunteers with the Sun Sketcher project pointed their smartphones toward the sun and recorded pictures of Bailey's beads, flashes of sunlight coming through valleys on the moon. Volunteers with GLOBE, G-L-O-B-E, Observer, that's called GEO, submitted more than 35,000 data points to the GEO Eclipse, GEO Clouds, and GEO Land Cover projects, taking eclipse data using their cell phones and sometimes thermometers. These data show the effect of the eclipse on our atmosphere. Many more volunteers use specialized gear, DSLR cameras, telescopes, audio moss recorders, and ham radio sets, taking data for the Dynamic Eclipse Broadcast Initiative, the Eclipse Mega Movie Project, Citizen CATE 2024, Eclipse Sun Soundscapes, and the HAM-SCI project. These data will trace plumes and ejections of matter in the solar corona, track waves in the ionosphere, reveal how animals, birds, and insects reacted to the eclipse. Science is a methodical process and sometimes a slow process. Data are still arriving from cell phones and computers around the country. It will probably take months or even years for scientists to check and analyze the data. Compare it with data on previous eclipses and publish it in the referred scientific literature. So here's some birthdays. Donald Holmquist, April 7th, 1939. He had no flights. Timothy Copra, April 9th, 1963. He flew on STS-127, 128, Expedition 20, and Soyuz TMA, Expedition 4647. Serena Onion Chancellor, April 9th, 1976. Soyuz MS-09, Expedition 5657. Lieutenant Cockrell, April 9th, 1950, STS 56, 69, 80, 98, and 111. Piers Sellers, 1955, April 11th, 1963, STS 120, 121, and 132. And Frederick Hawk, April 11th, 1941, STS 7, STS 51A, and STS 26. Now, this week in space history. On April 11th, 1960, Project Ozma begins the search for alien life. On April 11th, 1960, astronomers begin the first scientific experiment that would search for extraterrestrial life, known as Project Ozma. This experiment looked for interstellar radio transmissions coming from other star systems. This is the first time that radio astronomy was used to look for aliens. The effort was led by an astronomer named Frank Drake at Cornell University. He used an 85-foot telescope at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory at Green Bank, West Virginia, to check out two nearby stars called Tau Ceti and Epsilon Eridani. He first pointed the telescope at Tau Ceti, but he didn't detect any signals. When he pointed the telescope at Epsilon Eridani, he did see a signal. He did see a signal, but it turned out to be a false alarm. He later found out the signal was created by military radar equipment and was definitely not aliens. On April 9th, 1959, NASA introduced its very first astronaut class, known as the Mercury 7. The Mercury program represented NASA's first human spaceflight program with the aim to see if humans could function effectively in space for a few minutes or hours at a time. NASA's first 7 astronauts, Mercury 7, were chosen in 1959. And a brief history of what happened to each one. Deke Slayton was, because of a heart condition, was grounded for decades before being approved and flying in the Apollo-Soyuz test project, the first joint mission with the Soviet Union. Gordon Cooper flew twice in space, Mercury Atlas 9 and Gemini 5. Wally Schirra was the only astronaut who flew in the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs. Of course, he flew in the Apollo 7, which is on display here in Dallas at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. Scott Carpenter only flew one mission, Mercury Atlas 7. John Glenn was the first American to orbit the Earth in the Mercury Friendship 7 capsule. Then at age 77, he was the oldest person to travel in space, and that was on STS-95. Gus Grissom flew twice in space and was selected to command the first Apollo manned mission. Unfortunately, he perished in the Apollo 1 fire. Alan Shepard became the first American in space when the Freedom 7 spacecraft blasted off from Florida on May 5th, 1961. 10 years later, Shepard will fly again, become the 5th man to walk on the moon, and that was on Apollo 14. Last April 12, 1961, Yuri Gagarin, launched by the Soviet Union, became the first human to venture into space. His one-orbit journey around Earth marked a significant milestone in space exploration. Back to that, this is WB5OZL.
KF5JJ recheck.
Hey, Chaz, go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda, for your report on the history. I just want to let everyone know, if you want to see my pictures, you can email me at chazeh@dallascollege.edu. That's Charlie Hotel Alpha Zulu Echo Hotel at dallascollege.edu, and I will send you my Google Drive link so that you can see all of my pictures that I took during the eclipse.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chaz. Anyone need any pills? right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take final check-ins, and then we're going to close out this net. If you'd like to join us this evening but not checked in, but would like to do so, please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India WB4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John and Capel.
November 5, Bravo Bravo, short comment.
Okay, I've got WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, and P5GDW, John and Capel, and I got Bill with a recheck. N5BD, go!
Yes, I forgot to say earlier, during the eclipse, the bright planet to the lower right of the eclipsed sun during the total eclipse was Venus. On the other side of the sun, over to the left and I believe above, was Jupiter. From my vantage point, it was behind some trees, and I forgot to walk over so I could see if I could see Jupiter. But Venus was very easy to see. I've got photos of the eclipse and Venus taken with my cell phone, and it was easy to see. N5BB. And I loved that prominence. It was that bright red dot.
Yep, you're right on all counts, and that's what I saw from my unobstructed view. Okay, well, I'm going to close it down. Tonight we had 25 people checked in this evening. So thanks to all who did check in and participated and offered their comments. We hope you'll be here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration, because on this massive sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net controls for this and all the other DARC nets. We hope you'd like to take prior hand at this. Contact any of the net controls from this evening or any net, and send an email to nets@w5fc.org. For follow topic discussion about this net, astronomy in general, Facebook, X, as well as our audio video stream, audio archives, and other useful internet resources by going to the club website, w5fc.org. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:28 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody. Enjoy the evening discovering the universe. We'll be back in about 5 minutes to start discussion on tonight's movie, The Mandela Effect from 2019. So come on by. That'll be 5 minutes from now. It's KT5 ICS. Cheers for now.
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, this is WB50ZL. I'm taking over for Tom tonight because he's been sick and his voice is kind of hoarse. So he asked me if I would do the honors tonight. Of course, I'd be happy to. The movie tonight is The Mandela Effect. And I'm going to read the synopsis. Tom read his synopsis earlier, which is very fanciful, but this is what Wikipedia says. Computer designer Brendan and his wife Claire are grieving for their daughter Sam, who drowned trying to retrieve her curious storage doll from the ocean. As they reluctantly rummage through Sam's belongings, Brendan finds a copy of the Berenstain Bears. To the bewilderment of Brendan and his brother-in-law Matt, they remember the title with Berenstein, E-I-N, rather than A-I-N, even though they find no evidence it was ever changed. This leads them to learn about many other examples of the Mandela effect, collectively sharing false memories. Brendan and Clark discover further discrepancies, such as clearly remembering that Sam's doll had a tail when it actually does not. Eventually, Brendan concludes that the discrepancies are due to shifts between parallel universes and that Sam is still alive in one of them. Despite objections from Claire and Matt, he tracks down Dr. Ronald Fuchs, a scientist who's been alienated for holding similar beliefs. Dr. Fuchs' research indicates that the universe is a computer simulation, with the Mandela effect being the result of reality being rewritten to prevent its inhabitants from exposing it as a simulation. They begin developing a special computer program that, when run on the quantum computer of Dr. Fuchs' old campus, could interrupt the simulation. This revelation takes a toll on Brendan's daily life and marriage. He also begins to have visions of Sam, who at first no one else sees, until one day she's inexplicably alive and everyone can perceive her. Disconcerted, Brendan visits Dr. Fuchs, only to be informed that he died by suicide 2 months ago. Having talked to him mere hours before, Brendan acknowledged alteration is the simulation's attempt to thwart their plan. He rushes to finish the program, breaks into the college campus, and runs it on the quantum computer. Glitches manifest and destabilize reality, prompting Brendan to rush home. As the family hold on to each other tightly, the simulation crashes. The simulation restarts, recreating the history of the universe. The family is shown at the beach again, with this time Brendan asking Sam to leave her curious George doll, now without a tail, before going to the water. This saves Sam's life and allows the simulation to continue beyond the event that originally led to its discovery and crash. What they didn't really explain too much here is where the name comes from. If you're not familiar with this phenomenon, they claim that many people incorrectly believe that Nelson Mandela died in prison. These people claim that thousands of people have this false memory, and hey, how can it be that everybody has this false memories? Personally, I'm a skeptic. I've never met anybody who mentioned that, and I'm not sure about what they might be making it up. Now, it is true that Darth Vader did not say, "Luke, I am your father." He said, "I am your father." But, it's the kind of thing where everybody mispronounces it so much that you've heard it so many times that you think Darth Vader had it. This is part of the Mandela effect as well. And there are many cases. You can go on the internet and find all kinds of stuff about this if you're interested. All right, we're going to take check-ins now. Take general check-ins first. We'll have your name, your call, your name, and where you are, and if you saw this movie. You don't need to have seen it. You can certainly have an opinion or talk about any other science fiction movie you want to talk about. And we're going to start with the plot, then go into characters and characterizations, and then end up with special effects. So let's take short time people now. Please come with your call sign.
Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Staying there, Weatherford. I did not see the film. I'm going to be listening to see if it's actually worth anything.
Okay, we got Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay, who did not see the movie. All right, now let's take general check-ins.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Yes, I did see the movie.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville, yes, saw the film.
Okay, we have NT5TM, Tony, who did see the movie, and KE5ICX, Tom, who did see the movie. We have anybody on Echolink? November Victor 5 Fox.
That 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman on Echolink. I did not see the film, but when we get to the anything round at the end, I'll have a comment about the Mandela effect. So I'll let y'all discuss the film. I'm just going to be sitting here listening. KF5 CDS.
NV5F, Virginia, I saw the movie.
Okay, we have NV5F, Virginia, who did see the movie. KF5 PDS, Billy, who didn't, but is going to listen and then have comments about the Mandela effect. Any other check-ins? BZWJ. Oh, no, you didn't see it, so we'll skip you. We'll come back to you later if you have comments. NT5TM, Tom, go ahead. What do you think?
Hey, Brenda, this is Tony. You do actually warm my heart every time you call me Tom by mistake. Tom is my friend. I did enjoy their effort, but oh man, it was thin. I really felt that they had about 30 pages of screenplay, and they made everything extra slow to try to make a movie. I did have some amusement thinking of collective memory errors I didn't have, like Nelson Mandela himself, or the misspelling of Looney Tunes that they humorously showed. I did not apparently remember how to spell the Berenstein Bears, or Stein, or however I'm supposed to spell that. I don't know anymore. But, you know, I excused myself. I was a small child and not that good at spelling. So I thought it was funny to explore that idea, but, oh, this was just so long and tedious and tropey. Oh, look, the big computer with the strange glowing lights that controls all of reality. If only we could give the computer an impossible problem, tell it to divide by 0, or ask it, you know, if God can make a rock so heavy he can't lift it. Oh, the computer will self-destruct and say does not compute, and puffs of smoke will come out and the world will come to an end. I really felt that the plot was not only unreasonably padded and unreasonably simplistic. I'm not happy to see the death of a child in a movie. I'm glad it wasn't a real child, but I think they hit that note over and over and over again way too many times. And then that endless trope of making the world too complicated for a computer to cope with it, which has been going on at least since the 1940s in movies. You know, probably before that. It was long, it was predictable, it was disappointing. Does not compute, smoke puffs out, vacuum tubes explode, NT5TM, boom!
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I can't read my writing. That's the problem. I was just kind of... I did write Tony next to your name, but it looks more like Tom, and Tom looks like something else. So I admit I have terrible writing. I'm so sorry. Okay, next, K5ICX, the real Tom. What do you think about the plot?
Boy, how do I follow Tony Tom after that? He pretty much hit the nail on the head. But I did learn something. Maybe a side thing to all of this is the secret to good Twilight Zone and the endurance of Twilight Zone is the show was so darn short you didn't have to explain anything. Because every episode had this similar plot, not 80 minutes long, but what, 24, 5 minutes long, maybe, if that? Because it was a 30-minute show with advertising. So you didn't have a lot of time. You had to cover a lot of ground very quickly, or cover a very little bit of ground very quickly. So I think that's what made the Twilight Zone work. And this would have been a good Twilight Zone. Here's the thing. We don't know why there's a simulation, or what would cause the simulation, or what the repercussions are. Obviously, the reset and everything works for the individual. In the Twilight Zone episodes, it was always focused on an individual, and we knew that whatever consciousness or being that existed in the between light and darkness, the Twilight Zone, focused on an individual, always one. And that was where the story always began and ended, either with a good person getting what they're just deserved, or a bad person getting their just punishment through their own selfishness. Their morality fails. This one fails that to a certain extent because it's too long with too little material, as Tony mentioned. The second part is do we have enough of emotion invested in these characters? Initially, it started out okay, and then afterwards, not so much. And I did feel bad. I don't like movies with children's death, even if it's not even shown. That just disturbs me no end. So I have a hard time watching these things, even if it's make believe. But I think, I don't know. I think that if we had an insidious reason in the background, maybe, I don't know, maybe the red pill or the green pill, something might have helped it along in some way. Not sure. These stories, as Tony says, have been done. It's difficult sometimes to really pull out a good, substantive story with maybe a twist ending that makes sense. That was the only way it would work. I don't know. Hard to say on this one. I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed it all the way to the very end. I'd watch something by this guy again in the future, director and producer, just to see what they come up with and what they learned from this one in 2019. Back to you, KT5ICX.
Thank you. Okay, Virginia, NV5F. What did you think of the plot?
Okay, well, I'm definitely in agreement so far with the fact that this supposed phenomenon, even as a real phenomenon, is much too thin I think, to really base the whole movie on. It's just, I don't think there's a lot of evidence that the Mandela effect even really exists. I think it's a result of the internet, the dissemination of lots of information, lots of it bad very quickly, and the tendency, especially because of places like the internet, for group mentality. I think that's just, you know, most of these things can be. I'll probably talk about this more in round 3, but I did a little bit of reading on this, and I found that I don't know, the plot was, it started out kind of interesting. You did care about the characters a little bit. We'll talk about characters next round, I'm sure, but yeah, it was like, well, like, yeah, it's a good, it might be a good Twilight Zone episode, because why would, there's the implication that, you know, God is just, the whole world is just a big simulation. The opening doesn't make any sense, where they got rats in a maze and how a rat learns over time and how that somehow contributes to computer programming and video games, and it's almost like whoever wrote this liked certain things, you know, and wanted to somehow make them connect to this. So I didn't really think that a lot of that made sense. And yeah, it was just kind of I was on the Facebook thread earlier today, I was talking about how, why wouldn't you take something like this and maybe make it into something funny, or even, you know, not so heavy. You know, you could make something kind of, you know, a little bit, not necessarily slapstick, but you could just do a much more light-hearted treatment of it, you know, because we all know that Nelson Mandela didn't die in prison in the 80s, despite the fact that a few thousand people on the internet thought he had a few years ago. And so, you know, that's something to be happy about. We could make something much more fun out of this. But yeah, the old supercomputer, let's beat the computer. Oh, and see, that gives me a great tangent for my weekly figure out a way to talk about 2001 thing. I'll mention that later. But yeah, the big computer, and why is it there? And I mean, the computer that he was trying to program was like some computer at a school somewhere, and somehow if you could get a quantum computer to run a C program that interrupts the overarching simulation that is the entire universe, you know, I don't know, you're just getting into a whole, we're just making stuff up at that point. But oh, and I hated that when he goes into the school to like break into the computer lab, he gets accosted by I guess like a, you know, a professor or something. It says he's going to call security on him, and he like somehow ends up killing the guy. That was dreary, in addition to all the other dreariness. And like, why did as soon as Sam came back, you know, why did his wife then, he was the one who was going nuts, and then she came back and he was all happy, and then his wife started to go nuts, you know. So it's like, is it like, oh, well, if you change reality, it screws everything up? It's kind of like a time travel / alternate universe, you know, kind of cautionary tale. Don't change history just to suit yourself, or you'll screw everything else up. I mean, that was pretty tropey. But yeah, I agree, it was a thin plot. It was padded. It was very easy to understand, I'll give it that. It wasn't too complicated, except some of the stuff just didn't connect together in a way that was, you know, believable, I guess. So anyway, yeah, and all the weird, I don't know, I start thinking about special effects and junk I'll talk about later. But anyway, back to net, NV5S.
Okay, well, that's the end of the road. I'll give my comments. I think Billy said she's going to wait till the end to talk. I had read a lot about the Mandela effect. I just stumbled upon it once and did some research, and I wasn't buying it then. You know, we had the Berenstain Bears books. My kids did. I read to them. And we pronounced it Berenstain because it was spelled A-I-N. If it had ever been written with an E-I-N, we would have said Berenstain, but we didn't. But there's an implication, conspiracy implication, that things were actually changed, that Jif was at one time Jiffy Peanut Butter, or that, the guy on the Monopoly thing actually did have a monocle at one time and they changed it. But nobody's ever produced any of these old things, and I really am not sure that a lot of people remember that Nelson Mandela died in prison. I never heard anybody say that. I just read an article on the internet that says a lot, thousands of people misremembered it. So far as I know, this is a hoax. And, but I mean, it's an interesting thing, yeah. A long time ago, they said, Bogey never said, play it again, Sam. It's just, this kind of comments get stuck in our culture, and we hear it so much that we believe that that's what it really said. So, anyway, I guess these guys watched The Matrix and said, we want to make a movie too, like that, and stumbled upon the idea of we'll use the Mandela effect as the hook of how it is that that things have been changed. It was kind of a clever idea. I don't think it worked totally. I did enjoy the movie. It moved well. It was engrossing. But, the plot is just dumb enough to put me off. And, I'm with Tom. I don't like movies where kids die. There's several movies I've seen in the past. I'm really sorry that I saw them because kid dies. And it's not okay, especially when it's a younger child. And there was a lot of filler in this thing, a lot of drawn-out things of them grieving and then them fighting and things not seeming right and talking it to death. And I think it could have been a much shorter movie, but they had to fill it, so. It did not do well in the box office or with the critics. It's no surprise there. So I don't know. If someone else could have done it and made a halfway decent movie out of it, I'm not sure. I just think there's just not enough to work with here, and it was all kind of thin. Okay, let's see if there are any more check-ins. We're watching the Mandela effect. Okay, well, KG5BZWJ, do you have any comments?
This Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Yeah, okay, I'll say what, anyway, yeah, I do. I kind of liked a little bit I did see the first, 5 minutes of that, and honestly was immediately put off by the child death, and it was made my emotions, and I do not really respect that. So, yeah, I was like, no, I'm not in the mood for that today. I have been maybe a little bit more tolerant mood, but had certain things I had to get done today, so Time is of the essence, and I didn't feel like this movie was worth my time. From hearing the plot, I don't know that I'll go back to it because it just the whole thing seems a little bit silly, and the whole thing. It is kind of. This is just a random thought that I just thought about. Like the whole illogical condition to whatever have cause a program, a computer to fail or whatever. Well, okay, of course, yeah. If you've ever seen like the not even the ENIAC, but like some manual calculators divide by zero and see what happens there. I'm sure I know there's a YouTube video of that and all that. Yeah, you see where that comes from, but obviously, if you have you honestly have some sort of funny condition, what really happens is the computer just runs indefinitely and there's nothing to stop it or whatever. It's just kind of silly, and it's funny. The thought that I had that was random is like, we've developed these large language models which are perfectly capable of actually, while they can be useful, they're also perfectly capable of lying to you. And we perfected the art of computers that lie. I think if a computer can lie, just simply make up stuff for sources or whatever or whatnot, I think it wouldn't be too much of a big deal for a computer simulation to, suddenly potatoes or whatever, suddenly supernova, and then, it's like whatever. And it's just, you can go into depth about that, but there's been other shows or stories and shows that have actually kind of touched on not the simulation aspect, but the different world aspect. I've already mentioned this before on Othernet. It was the same. It was saying not denied. I think it was something that even Harlan Ellison wrote. The Star Trek Next Generation. I don't know the name of it, but it's like somebody gets stuck in a warp, and it turns out it's essentially the Mandela effect every single 5 minutes because the world is just literally being changed from under him. And that was still probably one of my favorites of the Star Trek Next Generation episodes, just because it's so memorable. But anyway, whatever. I've been talking for a while. I can't think of anything else to say, so I'll leave it at that. KG5, BZW, back to net.
Thank you, Jay. I hear back channel that KB9SOK, Sean, is wanting to check in on Echolink. Sean, are you there?
Bravo 9, 06 Kilo, Sean forward.
And did you see this fine movie?
Yeah, I did. I saw it.
Okay. Would you like to back up and take a turn talking about the plot?
KB9 is okay. Yeah, I agree with what everybody said. It was kind of a thin story. You can go around and around about the explanations, and of course you can't, believe about anything you read on the internet. Yeah, like even the Monopoly example. Once again, your mind fills things in. Maybe some people did remember
a monocle, but I don't know. The mind has a tendency to fill things in that it thinks should be there sometimes. So yeah, I don't buy this as being an actual simulation. The whole use a computer thing, yeah, everybody covered that pretty well. First of all, if you had, whatever, whether it was a god or some aliens that were running this simulation, and they were that advanced, would they put in limiters to make sure this kind of thing wouldn't happen? Seemed like kind of a very thin plot ideal to break the simulation. So we've seen this done before in various forms. Essentially the Matrix probably the most popular as far as living in, a simulation. And then we've had other shows, especially sci-fi, that have gone into the, running simulations of, other, running essentially a world, what would happen. And they come find out that it was affecting real people. And, this was really, I agree, this should have been probably a Twilight 30-minute show. It just drug on and on and on. It was, we like movies with good conversation, but it just kept grinding on the same thing over and over. And it, got old, to be quite honest. Yeah, I get the whole idea of the programmer, the games, because they need somebody, obviously, to write the program for the quantum computer. And then, his whole thin ideal of, of course, on a simulation, it only shows you the part of the world that you're in. Well, yeah, that's true in a video game. It's only going to show you the part that you're in. But why he thought he could magically use that to crash the computer to make it think about the simulation, think about every spot in the universe at the same time, that kind of thin. So it just, for me, this was kind of a thumbs down. Didn't really enjoy it because it just never went anywhere. Kept feeling like it should. It's very predictable. And I can see why this is going to do particularly well. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't really have a lot to add on this one. So back to that, KB9S, okay?
Thanks, Sean. And we'll put you in at the end of the list, so you'll get your chance at the characters. Okay, NT5TM, Tony, what did you think about the characterization?
Oh, I really wish I had something interesting to say, but I'm going to go with flat and forgettable. Oh, except, wait, there was a magic black man. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Haven't we all gotten bored with that dead or alive child, Sam? Being in a movie is hard work. She's going to remember that when she was little, she worked hard at being in a movie, and yet no one remembers who she is. It's the exact opposite of E.T. So, sad, flat, forgettable, cliched, and disappointing NT5TM.
All right, to the point. KU5ICX, Thomas, what did you think of the characters?
Oh, I'm with what Tony said. They're all of those and so much less. So, not much I could say. It was kind of strange, though, watching Brandon and Claire. One goes crazy and then comes out of it, and then the other one goes crazy. And then they both see the daughter after that, but he goes through the parallel universe thing, kind of, sort of, simulation. I'm not sure what they wanted to do with this parallel universe or simulation, or just the error of the simulations that causes parallel universes. I don't know. It's just difficult. I guess it could be worse. It could be a time-traveling, time paradox story. Those are always annoying and cause nosebleeds. So, not much I can add there. I did find it quite interesting, though. There was a movie that I liked, Somewhere in Time, that this group, or some assembled version of it, a few years back we watched, which was the Richard Matheson story about going back in time. His old friend that Christopher Superman, I can't think of his name now. Anyway, wanted to be seeing Seymour. And there's a scene where he goes and he meets his old college professor, and he kind of finishes the lecture, and he says, his old professor talks about time travel. And says, is time travel possible? Well, there is a question. And that scene was played out almost identically in the Mandela Effect. It's basically the same thing happening here. So, okay. Well, if you're going to steal, I guess you steal from Richard Matheson, even his lesser work. So I don't know. I guess maybe this has been beaten up so much that maybe it could have been better characters, better stories somehow. I think we deserve more, but I'm not sure they could deliver more without totally. It's like the aliens, you know. You don't want to see the aliens because you'll find out that the special effects are really bad for the aliens. Just like in 2001. Remember that? Virginia. And you don't want to see something that is more than it could be or less than it could be, so make it a box. But in this case, you know, how much do you reveal of the God part of this? And you'll be disappointed. Just like Star Trek 5. Back to you, the E5 ice ship.
Okay, sometimes seems like we always have to work in 2001 and Star Trek 5 into conversations. That's okay. All right, November, Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia. What do you think?
I do think that I wonder what would God want with a starship, and what would he want with a computer simulation with which he would torture us by making us think we'd lost our minds with memories that conflict. So, yeah. And Stanley Kubrick was trying really hard to figure out an alien, and he really wanted to show an alien, and it was a happy accident that he ran out of time and money. It made 2001 a classic. Okay, yeah, the acting was, the actors were good. They did a good job. It wasn't like that, that film based on a true story that I tried to watch the other day with Dean Cain and other lesser-known actors about the Challenger disaster, where the acting was so bad that I couldn't keep watching. The acting in this was decent. The parts where the people were upset or going crazy were upsetting because, you know, the acting was good. The little girl was a very good actress. She was very, very sweet and very cute and very believable in that, you know, even when her dad wanted her to sing, she could play the piano really well, and her singing was like a little off key, like you might think a little kid's singing would be. She had some believability to her as a little girl, and that's why it upset us that she, you know, had an untimely passing in the first part of this film. And I guess that's the hard part, is that if the idea were better, you might be right there with her dad trying to, like, want her to come back. If there were some kind of antagonist or some kind of, you know, reason for all of this to even be a thing. But yeah, it was just something that I think all the parts of how the movie was made and the whole premise of it are part of why we're not going to remember these characters, and I don't think they were the kind of people you couldn't care about, but they're not the kind of people you're going to be thinking about in a week and be thinking, man, I really like to see that movie again. What a fabulous, you know, happy ending after all that struggle against, you know, the powers of evil, or the, you know, God who's supposed to be good. I mean, you know, this guy kept quoting verses from the Bible implying that, God was just running us on a matrix. At least in the Matrix, the computers were like the bad guys, and I see where they were trying to kind of use this Mandela effect as kind of like they used deja vu and stuff that was, oh, that's a glitch in the Matrix. I get kind of what they were doing. But anyway, the characters were, they were pretty stereotypical. The acting was, I thought, pretty decent, pretty good actors, but just not a whole lot for them to do. And I like Tony's remark about the magic black man. Yeah, wow, I hadn't even thought about that, but you're so completely right. And I think my favorite character was probably the guy who got killed in the school. I felt sorry for him, and I just hated that anything bad happened to him, and it sucks that he died in V5F.
Thank you, Virginia. This is WB50ZL. Sean, KB9, SOK. You.
This KB9, SOK. Yeah, I agree with everybody. The actors were decent. It's just, the story was just a little dull. Just kind of drug out. Yeah, like everybody, I didn't like seeing the little girl die at the beginning, even though they didn't actually show it. Of course, it's upsetting, which is what they wanted. But yeah, no, I really don't have a lot to add here to the characters. Just, the actors did what they could with the story. Like Virginia said, you're not going to be thinking about this, probably not even tomorrow. So, yeah, it's not a lot on that. So yeah, back to that, KB9S, okay?
Okay, well, I guess it's time for my comments. I thought the actors did an okay job, but it was nothing spectacular, but they weren't bad either. I think they were kind of believable, and never heard of any of those people, never heard of anybody having any involvement with this thing. So, I don't know. Maybe this was a career-killing move for some of these people. I don't know. But, they were believable as they could be, given the script. And, I didn't think the movie moved along as well as it should. And part of that is because, the characters got bogged down a lot. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that for now. So does anybody else want to check in to talk about the Mandela effect? Okay, we're going to circle back and talk about special effects. We'll start with J, KG5BZW. Do you have anything to say about special effects? Or anything else?
K5BZW, I got nothing else. Thank you. Back to that.
Okay, Tony, NT5TM. Do you have anything?
Not much. Aaron reminded me of one of my mottos, which is that it's just as much work to make a bad movie as a good one. And everyone worked so hard on this. I wish the writing had been better. Yeah, nothing really to add. NT5TM.
Yeah, it's really sad because this represents somebody's hopes and dreams, a bunch of people's hopes and dreams. And it's kind of sad that it just didn't come together. And K5ICX, what would you like to say?
All right, I'll give credit where credit is due. The film itself looked pretty good. Special effects at the end with the digitizing was a bit much, but okay. That's how we visualize digital effects as being blocky. So okay, fine with that. Music was interesting, I thought. Sound was good. Picture quality, pretty good. Lighting, all reasonably good for a low-budget art house type film. This one came out well. I did like the casting of, I can't remember his name, the guy who plays the Penguin in Gotham. It was nice to see him in something other than the Penguin, although I thought that was a really good role for him. And he'll always be attached to that over the, 5 seasons that was on TV. But at any rate, too bad. Nice try. I'll go back and watch something this guy has done. He also wrote as well as produced. I'll watch something else he does in the future and hope that he learns his lessons from here. Or maybe there'll be an alternate reality or a reboot of this film, and it'll actually be better on the reboot. 85 ICX.
Thank you. NV5F, Virginia, what do you think the special effects or anything else?
Oh, please, Tom, don't say reboot. Hollywood is so desperate, they'll reboot anything. I have a few things to say. Yeah, this movie for me goes in the category of dreary, nihilistic, minimalist soundtrack, dreary, not quite color keyed lighting, but just meh, everything is just so heavy and not pleasant. I just, I don't really like this style. I'm just going to have to admit that whatever the style is for that, a lot of people must like it, but I just don't like it. It just leaves me cold. Special effects, yeah, the digital blocky things, planes moving in and out and jittering and pixelating and going out of focus, and there was even an effect in the background toward the end of it looked like someone who was just moving the hue filter on Photoshop back and forth. Everything was just going round and round and like a rainbow, and I was like, wow, they were just running out of ideas. Then just the background disappearing and everything turning black, and I don't know. I just think that's something that if the whole universe is a computer simulation, I can't imagine what it would really look like if it suddenly broke down. But I guess they did the best they could with that. And then some of the weird morphing stuff that was kind of disturbing. And his wife is screaming at him, "Come home! I don't feel good!" And that was aptly disturbing and weird and kind of scary and disquieting. So I guess the special effects contributed to that some. The big computer, I guess the whole big scary computer that I guess was a quantum computer or something, and who doesn't love big computers, like glowing things, and of course no computer is as awesome as HAL, so every computer just wishes it was HAL. So I had to throw that in there. Let's see what else. I've got a few notes here. There was the whole Mandela effect thing. Like I said, I read several articles on it, and the Nelson Mandela phenomenon, or whatever that is, that happened a while back, was the only thing really that was noteworthy. That I think you can't base a whole phenomenon on this, or maybe a couple of other isolated cases of collective I read a story on it a few years ago, and all I can think, I can't remember what the story said, but apparently there was some mention of it in an article or something, and enough people read that or saw some, just unresearched media online somewhere, and then all of a sudden it became this sort of collective, group group delusion of some kind, because I never was under that misconception about Mandela. But all the other examples that were given were so trivial, and I can totally, in my mind, kind of really easily explain most of them. The one that I've known about forever is, along with Brenda's line from Darth Vader, the one she cited. He doesn't say, "Luke, I'm your father." He says, did Obi-Wan ever tell you, what happened to your father? Luke says, "He told me enough. He told me you killed him." And then Darth Vader says, "No, I am your father." I mean, it makes sense that could be shortened to, "Luke, I'm your father." It's almost like just a shortening of the scene, to quote a whole conversation in one line. And the other classic one is, "Play it again, Sam. It's not in the movie. Play it, Sam. You played it for her. You can play it for me. Play it, Sam." I think that's how it goes. Anyway, I did like the little nod to that in this movie, that his daughter's name was Sam and that she played as time goes by on the piano. And they never did cite that example from the Mandela effect, but I did notice it was quoted in the movie in kind of a clever way. And most of the other Mandela things that I read about were just things like people thinking the Challenger disaster happened in 1985 instead of 1986. I mean, that's not a Mandela effect thing. That's just people's memories not being great. Or the thing about how to spell Oscar Mayer or Berenstain. I know how to spell Berenstain because I worked at a video game company in LA, and we did a Berenstain Bears game. And I think probably before I did that game, I probably thought it was spelled like Berenstein, which seems like a German. It's just a German name ending that we could easily mistake that. It's just something that can easily happen. It's just something common, sounds like something that's popular, and so everybody changes that popular thing into, a more common spelling, even though one of the ones I read about today was the pronunciation or the spelling of the brand Febreze. And they're like, "Oh yeah, some people think it has, it's spelled Breeze, and it's just spelled Breze. And I'm like, well, of course everybody thinks it's spelled with two E's because that's how we pronounce it. So that's what most of the examples I was finding were just things that could be pretty easily explained away. And like I said, I didn't ever believe that Mandela had died in prison in the 80s. In fact, I was real excited when he was released from prison and apartheid was done away with, and he finally, received just reward for all of his suffering in prison. So I know he didn't die in prison because I was too happy when he got out of prison. Anyway, that's my probably way more than you wanted to hear from me, but I honestly think in real life the Mandela effect itself is a Mandela effect in V5F.
Hey, Virginia. KB9 SOK, Sean, what did you think?
KB9 SOK. When you have the special effects at the end, I do think we're a little cheesy on showing the simulation breaking down. The music seemed a little odd, but it had it. Yeah, I just don't have a lot else to say about this movie. So, back to that. KB9 SOK.
Okay, my comments. The special effects were adequate for what they were doing. It wasn't anything wonderful or that you just have to watch over and over again. The whole thing was just dumb. This whole Mandela thing is just dumb. and I never bought any of it. I've been reading about this for years, and I think it's a plot or a hoax or, joke. I don't know. But some people are pretty serious about this. So, Billy, KF5 PDF, you were going to give your comments about the Mandela effect at the end of the show here, so go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda, and I've really been enjoying everybody's comments about the film. So I just wanted to make a comment. There was an X-Files episode called The Lost Art of Forehead Sweat. If you've never seen this episode, you go watch it. This would be a great Afterglow movie. It's not a film, but it's a TV series. It would be fun for discussion because in there, it's kind of a self-parody and gives some, clues as to how the X-Files may have gotten started. But in there, Mulder runs into a man named Reggie who's explaining this very effect, and he's going on about it says how history is seemingly rewritten by the collective acceptance of erroneous facts, except he doesn't refer to it as the Mandela effect. They refer to it as the Mengele effect. So it's like some funky change of history that the Mandela effect was renamed, and it's a great episode, so highly recommend it. Again, it's called The Lost Art of Forehead Sweat. And then just submitting for approval, if y'all have already talked about Jose Chung's From Outer Space, the X-Files episode, I apologize, I've been out of loop for a while, but if we have not done that for an Afterglow, that would also be a good one. Again, that was Jose Chung's From Outer Space. Those X-File episodes, highly entertaining and really fun to watch, but just wanted to throw that in there about the Mandela effect. It just made me think of that episode of the X-Files. Anyway, thanks for the time, and I've enjoyed the net. So returning back to you, this is KF5 PDF.
Thank you, Billy. Did anybody else want to check in?
And to VIP, Ken.
And to VIP, Ken. Thanks for stopping by the net here.
I happily didn't watch the movie. I was just checking out a radio I picked up at the Hamfest today and listened in. And to VIP, back to net.
Well, the radio sounds pretty good. So, does anybody have any more comments about the movie tonight? Well, okay then. We're wrapping it up a little early, but that's okay. I have found that when we all love a movie, or we all hate it, or we're split, and we argue, that the thing runs longer. But when people feel kind of blah about a movie, we tend to wrap it up early. That's what we're going to do. So this is WB5OZL, Mending the Net.
Thank you, Brenda, and thank you, everybody else, for your comments. NT5TF, going to bed.
Nobody wants to know what next week's fascinating movie will be?
I do. My apologies. My bad. Go ahead.
It will not be 2001: A Space Odyssey. However, it will be Logan's Run from 1975, filmed right here in beautiful Dallas. That'll be the movie next week, Logan's Run.
Hey, they filmed some of it in Fort Worth, too, in V5F.
One of my favorites. We did it before, but that's okay. It's worth another look. WB5OZL.
Yeah, we got to throw some decent ones out there every once in a while. I mean, we keep going down the minutia. How we've been doing this, what, 8 years? And a new movie every week. We've hit all the good ones, so unless there's new ones that come out or we've missed some along the way we forgot about. Okay, I wrote down some notes from Billy, so I'll see if I can find this stuff. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.